What's good, YouTube? It's your main man, AB the Hero, back again with another video. In today's video, we're going to watch this clip from Full Size Run with your boy, Scottie Pippen. Now, in this clip, Scottie Pippen is giving us some behind the scenes information on his time with Nike, some of the good, the bad, and the ugly dealings and workings with the company. And I will tell you, while my man Scottie is in love with Nike and has a great relationship, things are not always what they seem. I think that you'll learn a lot about the sneaker culture today based on his history with the company long term. Let's get into it.
Triple B's! AB the Hero. Back at it, baby.
So now to get this thing started, they're at the portion of this interview in which he's starting to break down his time with Nike. Prior to that, he was with another company, moved to Nike. And one of the things that's interesting that they already talked about, my man Scottie says he does not even remember ever having to ever buy a shoe, right? He talked about as a kid, he got a lot of hand-me-downs, and by the time he got to college, he never has bought a shoe since college on, which I think is crazy. And he also pretty much still has a good relationship with the Jordan brand, which is interesting according to what a lot of people would think based on the media. Let's get into this video here. All right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We know you were signed to Avia before you signed to Nike, but when you got with Nike in 1991, how did that happen?
Well, Avia basically didn't renew my contract. They decided to go more into the outdoors, running shoes and things of that nature. I just kind of got on the team because they offered me the most money coming out of college. Every kid always wanted to be a Nike kid. So eventually, my basketball game had arrived enough that Nike came calling. I've been with them now 30 plus years.
Did you get any stock with that? I feel like
No, I didn't get any stock with them back then.
you gotta get
My
some stock.
mistake.
Yeah.
Stock time coming up.
So I think here is our first lesson of man, if we could do things differently, a lot of people would have gotten that Nike stock many moons ago. If you remember, your boy Magic Johnson talked about he turned down a Nike deal where they offered him some stock if he would have did it and end up going with a different company, and he wishes that he made that move. So my man Scottie, first lesson, if you're going to sign that endorsement deal, make sure you get some of them assets as well.
Yeah.
Scottie, your first Nike signature shoe, the Pippen 1, the version that you played in didn't have the air bubble on it. I think you had like a sprained ankle at the time, and you said the airbag wasn't as stable for your foot. You actually had a pair that full Zoom Air. What was that like?
Well, I was a player that I always wanted to be closer to the floor. Nike at that time was really promoting the Air Max, which was more the looking at the bubble and things. And
Little raise.
I was just kind of caught in an era where they were trying to promote the air bubble, and I was a player that I needed to be lowered to the ground. I turned my ankle numerous amount of times. In fact, I had ankle surgeries on both ankles.
Charged it to Nike, right?
Because of the sneaker?
No, I didn't charge it to Nike. But I feel like that playing in the air bubble shoe made me roll my ankles a lot.
Because I know there's like a lot of discussion nowadays when sometimes a player gets injured. People on social media are quick to blame the sneaker for it happening. Did you feel like you were like one step away from that occurring?
Well, I kind of was able to diagnose the problem early. I mean, I was still young in my career. But yeah, we were able to trick the consumers. They didn't know the
Realize the difference. Like you had to really be paying attention.
All right.
We go.
I got you.
Air
I got
bubbles.
you. When it comes,
So here we go. This is another secret or something that we didn't realize. To me, reminds me a lot of when you watch those food commercials. You see a food ad, and the hamburger on the picture versus the hamburger you get in the store, completely different. The hamburger on the picture is not even real meat. It's some type of clay. The syrup dripping off the pancakes is not syrup. It's oil. And so basically what my man Scottie Pippen is saying is that the sneakers that Nike was selling to you all were the actual retail versions, but the ones that he was wearing were constructed completely differently, right? The ones that retail were coming out, he couldn't wear because they was rolling his ankles. Now we hear a lot of conversation in this ethos of today. They mentioned it about how sometimes these sneakers, we saw Zion sneaker blowout, the conversation around Zoe and some of the early BBBs, and his shit. Like, you just hear this conversation in the sneakers, the D Rose, all of these different athletes who have injuries with their lower extremities. They kind of sometimes are placed on the sneaker company. In this instance, Scottie Pippen is saying, yeah, that's what it was. And he was able to diagnose that early enough to get them to change the sneaker before the one that he wore, and then it didn't have to wear the ones that went to the market. To me, I heard that and I was like, man, that's crazy. It also goes in line with this thing that I always say, like, most of the things that you think are true are never true, right? The things that these companies want you to know, you end up knowing, and the things that they don't want you to know, you don't end up knowing. And so, who would have known, or who would even have thought about the fact that Scottie Pippen has the shoe that he popularized, that he's not even wearing the same version that you buy?
Comes to the Air More Up Tempo, which is in my top 3 and not 3. That wasn't a signature shoe of yours, but when people see that shoe, it's like, those the Pippins. How does that make you feel, should I say? Like, since it's become such an iconic shoe and they've done so many things with it.
It's not a good feeling, I tell you.
Okay.
Because I felt like that I am the athlete that sort of owned that brand.
Yes, sir.
That wasn't the way Nike perceived it, but they considered them statement level shoes. To me, I had 5 statement level shoes per season. So I thought those shoes was statement level, but I also felt like they were my signature
Yes,
shoes
sir.
because people identified me with those shoes.
So like you did a lot of
as
work
I
to help make
retired
it.
from basketball and I go back to Nike and try to, renegotiate those
Yes, sir.
deals, then they tell me those are not your signature shoes.
I got you.
But it's
Here, bro. Everybody that I know thinks of those sneakers as Pippins, right? Everybody that I know thinks of those sneakers as Pippins, right? And it's so sad that every time they release them, they think of them as Pippins, right? And so you think you're buying some Pippins. Little did you know that he was just wearing those sneakers as a statement shoe. Here's some extra shoes for you to wear to market on the court, but these are not your signature shoes. And so I was blown away when I heard this, because I thought that he would still be getting the money from these sneakers as we see a lot of these other athletes do. Come to find out, that is not the case for him here. So we heard earlier the stock wasn't happening, and now we're hearing that some of the most popular models that we associate with Scottie Pippen, he's not getting a check for those either. Damn.
interesting.
The details.
It's interesting though, because that's a full bubble shoe. So you were okay with playing the Air Max in that one, or did they make Zoom Air versions of the Up Tempo for you?
I played in the Zoom Air.
Another custom thing just for you?
Yeah.
What about when George of the Jungle got a pair? You remember that?
When who?
George of the Jungle in the movie? Brendan Fraser?
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, he popped out with the Air More Up Tempos.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, true
Yeah.
story.
Okay.
Them classic moments like,
Kudos,
okay.
hey.
There was a Supreme collaboration. I think
Yeah.
you actually linked up with a friend of ours, Dre, who owns
Yeah,
Project
yeah,
Blitz,
Dre.
and you
Yeah.
signed the.
Yes.
Another sneaker I want to talk about is the Nike Air Foamposite 1, because there have been some stories out there that the foams were originally a Scottie Pippen shoe. Is that true?
Yeah. Again, those were a part of the statement level shoe that I was sort of pulled into with Nike. They asked me to promote shoes, and you guys got to remember back in the 90s, we was on TV 3-4 times a week.
For sure.
So Nike was putting as many pair of sneakers on me as they could. So yeah, I did start the Foamposite shoe, and again, I thought that was going to be a shoe that sort of fell under my brand.
Yes, sir.
You thought it was going to be a
Yeah.
signature shoe?
And then, you know, as I see that shoe resurface, they've given it to
Penny.
Penny.
Yeah.
You know, as a player who played in it, I mean, I don't know who really has the right to it, but it seems that they put more energy in the colorway into trying to make it more of a Orlando Magic.
Sure.
Hardaway.
To a young basketball player right now, coming up in this game, what is something that you, being the legend that you are and the experiences that you've had over these 30 years, that you could say to a young person, without getting yourself in trouble, obviously?
Very simple. Start out with a signature shoe.
Just,
Except nothing
Now.
less.
yeah.
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 Because now
No statement shit.
Yeah.
They
that's-
can't take that
What
away
you
from
do
yeah.
in the beginning is what basically
Yes.
boom,
and
boom,
the new generation of players
Yeah.
have been able to figure it out.
and work smarter.
I can say I was probably one of the trailblazers.
Yes, sir.
This is what I'm be trying to tell folks. Here's what I'm saying, man. Let's go over here. When we start talking about shaping the culture and all of that jazz, and he says to you there at the end, the number one thing that you should do is start out with the signature shoe, right? I remember when my man LaMelo signed a deal with Puma and he started that first season without the signature shoe. I was like, yo, they're fumbling the bag. Puma's fumbling the bag. My man should not have touched the NBA court without the signature shoe. Now, the reality is when you hear Scottie Pippen talk, you realize that actually Puma was not fumbling the bag. Puma was securing the bag, right? But they were delaying the bag from my guy LaMelo. Because if they would have given him a signature shoe right off the jump, then you miss a lot of the opportunity to put him in what he would have described as statement shoes, right? We seen the court riders, the different things. We saw maybe the first glimpse of him in a Puma shoe was in those the multi-colorway of the shoes that J. Cole had, the RS Dreamers. And so that's what you missed, the statement shoes, right? When we look at some of these the branding that they were doing initially, and they had him in the Puma gear in year one, but with no actual signature shoe, you see them securing the bag on their end, but not for the athlete. I do think that, to me, when I hear him talk about that, it makes so much sense when people want to give the Big Baller brand and all them folks credit for doing what they did. Think about how ahead of the game they had to be. When my man Scottie Pippen is saying, start out with a signature shoe when you're in the league, and they had him in the signature shoe when he was in high school. When Lonzo Ball started in the NBA, he was rocking his own signature shoe. That was the trail. That was the way to blaze things. That was the way to make things happen. Obviously, history shows us that it didn't go as smooth and rocky, and there were hurdles and all of these things. But I feel like we learned a lot from Scottie Pippen in that video. And I feel like if you're an upcoming athlete, take the man's advice. Look at what's going on with Kyrie Irving right now. Look at what's going on with some of these other athletes who Kyrie had his signature shoe and they snatched that away. You can even think about what's going on with Ye. And they took his whole brand. So maybe the signature shoe thing, you got to work some other stuff into your contract to even make that ironclad and make it make sense. But that's the video for today. I thought that was a very interesting, a very informative snippet from that interview with Scottie Pippen. Shout out to Scottie. And really good information, really transparent and giving us an insight on all of that stuff. It's your main man, AB the Hero. We get up out there. Peace.